Okay. So guys, this is lesson 5.4. We only have 3 more lessons, and then you will have learned everything that's going to be on the midterm. So we're so close, okay? Today's lesson is going to feel so much like last time's lesson. It's going to feel almost exactly the same, just a little bit tougher at the beginning. So these steps right here, I actually don't love. I kind of wish they just matched the other ones that we learned last time. So everybody look at question 1A. You have to be able to look at that and know that it's a critical numbers type 1. So this is a review problem. How do you know it's a critical numbers type 1? Because if you multiplied those out on the left, you'd have an x to the third, which is a big exponent, and you have an inequality. Okay, so everybody in the room, talk to me. What's step 1? What is it? Okay, everybody freeze. Everybody freeze for a second. Stop right there. Remember last time, this is what I said to you. If you're going to miss anything on this lesson, it's because you don't remember the steps. The math of it is breeze. It's the steps. So I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want you to answer without peeking. I know you just did your homework, right? Everybody in the room, I'm not talking about this problem. I'm talking about when I listed the steps. What is step 1? 0, right? Step 2, what is it? Factor. Both of those are done. What is step 3, everybody? Critical numbers. Okay, so everybody put CNS, and then I want you to put x equals 1, -2, and +3. Yesterday, last time we had quadratics. Now this is a cubic. Who cares? It's the same process. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 7. It's always going to be the same process, okay? So over here is a -2. 3 digits away, 3 units away from that is a +1. And 2 units away from that is a 3. Everybody look forward for a second. I am a little picky with this. If this is 2 units right there, then this guy should be further away. So I did that well, okay? If you put the 1 right in the middle, 1 is not perfectly in the middle of -2 and +3. So just be a little careful with that, okay? We don't have an equal sign, so we're going to do an open circle, okay? Now I have to test my region. So everybody grab your calculator. Let's do the left side. So everybody go -3, store, enter. Let's put in the original left-hand side. So go parenthesis, membar, enter, -1, close it. Make sure you're pushing it with me, okay? Parenthesis, membar, enter, +2, close it. Parenthesis, membar, enter, -3, close it, enter, and you get a -24. All I need is a negative. You guys, finding the signs of the next 3 regions takes literally like 15 seconds per region. So in the center, we have a 0 in the next region. So I'm going to go 0, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a 6. So I'm going to put in a plus. In between 1 and 3, I'm going to do a 2. 2, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a negative. To the right is a 4, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a positive. You have to have those signs there. What regions do I shade? Well, it said greater than 0, which means positive. So that would be here and here. So most of the time they're going to have you write it in interval form. So my answer is going to be -2 with a parenthesis to 1 with a parenthesis, union 3 with a parenthesis to infinity with a parenthesis. That's my answer, and I'm done. 3 numbers, just same policy though, same procedure. Okay, here we go with question B. Okay. Step 1. Tell me in general, not for this problem, what is step 1? 0. You can just literally say 0. Okay. Step number 2. Tell me with one word, what is it? Factor. What do I do to factor that guy? Take out an x squared, right? Which is the greatest common factor. If I take out 2 x's, I'm left with x squared minus 4, like that. Am I fully factored? No. So now I've got the difference of squares. So that is x plus 2 times x minus 2, like that. Tell me what to do now. critical numbers. So your critical numbers are x equals 0, -2, and +2. Now, everybody listen for a second. So you guys keep asking me, like, it always says plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus. Is that always going to be the same? It won't always be the same, and this guy's going to be funky. Why is he funky?
Because we have an x squared, so we're going to have 2 over 0.
You've got a squared. Yeah, you've got a squared, and so that makes things go weird. Good. So that's all I really need you to recognize. It's not going to be plus, minus, plus, minus. Okay? Left side -2, right in the center is a 0, on the right is a 2. I do have an equal sign. So you guys, when you take this quiz, I just want you to very clearly show me that those are closed circles. Okay, let's do the left-hand side. If I were you, you can do it anywhere, guys. You can put it in here, put it in here, put it in here. My advice to you would be to put it right before it starts factoring. Okay, so everybody go -3, store, enter. Then I'm going to go membar, enter, raise it to the 4. -4, membar, enter, x squared, enter, and I get a positive. So I'm just going to put a plus. The next 3 testing takes 15 seconds. -1, store, enter, up, enter, negative. Put in a 1, 1, store, enter, up, enter. I got another negative. See how it's weird? 3, store, enter, up, enter, and I got a positive. If you don't even notice that you've got a squared, and you don't notice that it doesn't go plus, minus, who cares? Who cares? Just roll with it. Just do it like we do it. You know what I mean? Less than or equal to 0 means negative. Okay? So this is a 0, or this is shaded and this is shaded. Okay? Everybody look right here. Just look for a second, okay? -2 to 0, union 0 to 2. Is that necessary? No. Look what it's saying. In between a -2 and 2, including the 0. Do you have to say including the 0? No. If that circle's closed, it just means between -2 and 2. That's your answer, and you're done. Okay, who says gotcha? Let's see. Okay, we're going to do one more of those, and then we're going to do critical numbers type 2. Okay, step 1, generic. You can say it with one word. There are about 35 people in this room. I want 35 voices. What do I do? 0. This is the number one reason people miss this. It's not the math, it's the steps. So when I ask you answer, okay, then I think you're going to get it right. Step 2, tell me one word. Factor. What do I do specifically? Take out an x. Good. And I'm left with x to the second plus 4x plus 4 is less than 2. Keep factoring. The x to the second goes to an x and an x. Signs are the same. They're both positive. 2 and 2 multiply to give me 4 and add to give me 4. I can leave it like that. I could also write it as x plus 2 squared. Doesn't matter, but I do know something where it's going to happen. It probably won't be plus minus, okay? Big deal. Just roll with it, and it doesn't matter anyway. We're going to get it. Bless you. Set the x equal to 0, and I get x equals 0. Set the x plus 2 equal to 0, I get a -2. I'm going to get another -2, but I don't need to write it twice. Okay, go to your number line, -2 on the left, 0 on the right, open circles, test your regions. My advice of where to plug it in is right there, which is right before you factor. Okay, on the left, -3, store, enter. Then I'm going to go membar, enter, raise it to the third, plus 4, membar, enter, x squared, plus 4, membar, enter, enter, and I get a negative. Between -2 and 0, I'm going to choose a -1. -1, store, enter, up, enter, and I get another negative. Put in a 1, 1, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a positive. I'm looking for where they're less than 0. So that would be here and here. Okay? Interval form, -infinity to 0 with a parenthesis.
No.
That's not true. Why not?
Because you have open circles.
Open circle on the 2, right? So we're going to say -infinity to -2 with a parenthesis. and then union -2 to 0 with a parenthesis. There's my answer, and I'm good. All that was review. Yeah, we had a bigger exponent, but it didn't change anything that we did. Okay? Okay, here we go with these ones. Okay, little bit tougher, very similar. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to write critical numbers type 2. So the lesson that I taught you last time was critical numbers type 1. This is critical numbers type 2. So what do you have to have in order for it to be critical numbers type 2? Two things. You have to have fraction with an x on the bottom. The other thing you have to have is an inequality. Look at question 2a. I have a fraction that has an x on the bottom, and I have an inequality. I have to be able to recognize this is critical numbers type 2. Okay? Look over at these steps. Get a 0 on the right. Same step. Get a common denominator. That step is a new step. Okay? Factor. Same as what I did before. Critical numbers. Same as what I did before. List the domain restrictions. That's a new step. Come up with a number line. Right here where it says table of values, I want you to cross it out and just put test. Weber State used to make us do a table of values, but they don't anymore. So we'll test and write the answer. So guys, that's why I still call it critical numbers, because the steps are almost exactly the same, except we've got 2 extra steps in there. Okay? Here we go very slowly, question 2. Step 1, get a 0 on the right-hand side. Done. Step 2, everybody listen. Look at the left-hand side of that inequality. Do I have 2 separate fractions that have different denominators that I need to pull those together as one fraction, yes or no? No, so there is no step 2. Step 3 is to factor. Well, it's already factored. So now I'm all the way down to step 4 and I haven't even done anything yet. Step 4 is to find the critical numbers. And the way that you find the critical numbers is you set the top equal to 0 and the bottom equal to 0. So you have a critical number at x equals 1, and you also have a critical number at x equals -2. Okay? You also have a domain restriction. Can anybody tell me the domain restriction? Can't be a -2. If x is a -2, then we're going to have a 0 on the bottom, which we can't have. Okay? Go to your number line. -2 is on the left. +1 is on the right. Are my circles opened or are they closed? I hear open, I hear closed, I feel lots of funny stuff. What is it? One is open, one is closed. The -2 is open. Everybody tell me, why is -2 open? It's a restriction. It can't be a -2. But I do have an equal sign, therefore my 1 is closed. So 1 is open and 1 is closed. Okay? Okay, now let's test it. Everybody freeze right here. You have to know how to put this in right. What a bummer if you don't put this in right. You guys look. The top has 2 terms. That means you've got to put input parentheses right there. The bottom has 2 terms. That means you've got to input parentheses. If you don't put the parentheses, guys, you're going to miss the signs, and then your answer is going to be wrong. Okay, so everybody go -3, store, enter. Then go parenthesis, membar, enter, -1, close it. Divided by parenthesis, membar, enter, +2, close it, enter, and I get a 4. So right here, I'm going to put a plus. You have to put your sign there, okay? Sign, in the middle, I have a sign, or on the right and left, I have a sign change, so I know I have a 0. 0, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a negative. To the right of 1, I'm going to do a 2, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a positive. I'm looking for where it's less than 0. That would be on the inside. So my answer in interval form is -2 to a +1. The 1 is closed with a bracket. The 2 is closed with a parenthesis, and I'm done. I'm sure this will be on your midterm, just so you know. It was on the review. So I'm thinking it's going to be there. Okay? Who says gotcha? Let me see. Okay. They're going to get progressively more difficult. Okay, so stick right with me. Step 1, 0, done. Step 2, get a common denominator. I don't have two separate terms over there, so there is no step 2. Step 3 is to factor, so that's where I'm at. So this is going to go to an x and an x. The 2 goes to a 2 and a 1. Signs are different. Biggest is the negative. Then I'm going to factor the bottom to an x and an x. Signs are the same. They're both negative. 3 and 1 multiply to give me 3 and add to give me 4. So that's how it factors. Okay. Step 1, 0. Step 2, common denominator. Step 3, factor. Without looking, what is step 4? Critical numbers. Good. See how I'm forcing you to remember those steps. Critical numbers from the top are -1 and +2. From the bottom are +1 and +3. What do you do after critical numbers? Restrictions. Yes. X cannot be equal to 1 and X also cannot be equal to 3. Look what people do. Everybody look right here, please, so this is not you. They go, oh, X can't be 1 or 3, so I'm going to remove 1 and 3 as critical numbers. Is that what I do? No, they're still critical numbers. They're just open circles. Okay, so look, everybody go -1. 2 units away from that is a 1. And then close to the 1 is a 2, and close to the 2 is a 3. Look how I did my spacing. If you put those all equal distances apart, I'm going to take points off because it's inaccurate, and it's important for you to take a second and be accurate, okay? On the +1, it's open. Same thing on the +3, open. I have an equal sign, so the other two guys are closed, okay? Now, everybody freeze for 2 seconds. Freeze right here. This is a big error people make. Look, go from the original and do parentheses when we test. Okay? Okay, let's do the far left. -2, store, enter. Parenthesis, membar enter x squared, minus membar enter, -2, close it. Divided by parenthesis, membar enter x squared, -4, membar enter, +3, close it, enter, and I get a 0.26. So that would be a plus. In between a -1 and a 1 is a 0. 0, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a -0.67. Between 1 and 2, everybody tell me what to use there. 1.5. 1.5, store, enter, up, enter. I get a positive. If you don't put the signs, you guys, even if your shading is right, you're going to lose points. So be careful with your signs. Between 2 and 3, 2.5, store, enter, up, enter. I get a negative. To the right of 3 is a 4, store, enter, up, enter, and you get a positive. You guys, Weber State used to make my students do this elaborate table of values to get those. And now we get to do each test in 15 seconds, so we're lucky, okay? I'm looking for less than, so I'm looking for negative. So guys, that would be here and here. So in interval form, my answer is a -1 with a bracket to 1 with a parenthesis, union 2 with a parenthesis, 2 with a bracket, to 3 with a parenthesis. That's my answer, and we're done. Every single time I teach this, someone says, why are some parentheses and some brackets? Answer.
Because they're open and closed circles.
Why open and closed circle though?
Restrictions.
Restrictions. Yep, good. Okay, it is going to get tougher. Here we go with question C. I know this is a critical numbers type 2 because I have a fraction with an x on the bottom and an inequality. Step 1, 0, done. Step 2, common denominator, don't need it. Step 3, factor. So it's x plus 2 squared. Multiplied on the bottom is x plus 3 times x minus 3, like that. Next step, everybody tell me. 30 people in this room, what's the next step? Critical numbers, right? The top gives you x equals -2. The bottom gives me a -3 and a +3. I want to ask you a question. Stop right here. If I accidentally forgot on this particular problem that the next step is to list my restrictions. On this problem, would it mess me up? It would not mess me up. Why not? They're all open anyway. And all restrictions does is make them open, excludes them as solutions, but it's an open anyway because I don't have an equal sign. So I'm just going to skip over that. Okay? So -3 on the left, right up next to it is a -2, far away is a +3. Okay? I have no equal signs, so everything's going to be open. Okay, now this is kind of tough. Now, it's not tough. I'm just going to add parentheses right there. Okay, that's all I need to do. So I'm going to go -4, store, enter. Parenthesis, membar, enter, +2, close it, x squared. Divided by, parenthesis, membar, enter, x squared, -9, close it, enter, and I get a positive 0.57. So that's a plus. This is kind of iffy. What's a number in between a -2 and a -3? -2.5. Yeah, -2.5, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a negative. Between a -2 and a 3, I'm going to do a 0, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a negative. To the right, I'm going to do 4, store, enter, up, enter, and I get a positive. What am I looking for? Greater than 0, so that would be positive. Here and here. Okay? Interval form. -infinity to -3 with a parenthesis. Union 3 to infinity, parenthesis, done. I have a question. Yeah.
Would we get marked wrong on like the midterm if we didn't do the restrictions on like a problem like that?
No, I don't think so. If they did, then I would fight because I'd be like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I don't think so. If you're afraid, I would just write it down. You know what I mean? Hey, I have a question for you though. Look at this problem. Does it matter that -2 was a restriction, or pardon me, -2 was a critical number, but it was never ended up being listed right there? Does it matter? Doesn't matter. You're looking for the negatives. The -2 wasn't a, pardon me, you're looking for the positives. The -2 wasn't a solution anyway, so no, it's okay. That's not a problem, okay? All right, now, they are going to get a little tougher. D and E are tough, and I do think that this is how Weber State will be presenting it, D and E, okay? Much tougher than what we've done. Step 1, all 30 of you, what do I do? 0. So everybody go -3x over x to the second minus 4 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Make yourself remember the steps. What do you do now? Common denominator. Okay, now don't freak out because it's a fraction. I know many of you are afraid of fractions. Look, this guy already had the x squared minus 4. So I'm just going to write down the -3x. This guy right here doesn't have the x squared minus 4. So I have to multiply the top and the bottom by x squared minus 4. The bottom becomes x squared minus 4. The top, you distribute the -1, and you get -x squared plus 4. Okay, all I did is distribute the -1. Now I'm going to reorder the top. So it's a -x to the second minus 3x plus 4 over x to the second minus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. And you look at that and you kind of cringe a little bit. What's making you cringe? The negative. Well, let's just get rid of it. If we hate it, how do we get rid of it? Just take it out. Yeah, just factor it out. So now you have x to the second plus 3x minus 4 over, let's go ahead and factor that bottom. It's the difference of squares, x plus 2 times x minus 2. Now I have one more step to factor fully, so that would go to an x and an x. The 4 goes to a 4 and a 1. Signs are different. Biggest is the positive, and the bottom is x plus 2 times x minus 2. Okay, everybody freeze for a second. Step 1, 0, done. Step 2, get a common denominator I did that here. Step 3, factor. I did it. What do I do now? Critical numbers. So my critical numbers are, the way that I find them is I set them equal to 0. Guys, look, if I set that equal to 0, let's just imagine, don't write it on yours, but equal to 0, would the negative give me an answer?
No.
Remember, you ignore that unless there's a what out there?
An X.
An X. We've talked about that many times, okay? So the negative doesn't do anything. Your critical numbers are +1, -4, -2, +2. Let me say something really fast. Everybody listen. People think because that's a negative, you should change those signs. No. No. If you have a negative times x plus 3 is equal to 0, this gives you x equals -3. You don't change it because of that negative. So no, don't do that, okay? Okay, let's go to your number line. -4 over here. 2 units away is a -2. 3 units away from that is a 1, and really close to the 1 is a 2. If you want to just fill in all the numbers and go for it and make them all equal distance, whatever you want to do, okay? All right, I did not do restrictions. Sometimes I forget to do restrictions, and then when I go to do the circles, I'm like, oh yeah, tell me what x cannot be equal to? Plus or minus 2, right? So let's come over here and do a -2 open, a +2 open, and a closed on a -1, or a -4 and a +1, okay? Okay, here we go putting it in. My advice is here. Look right here. Right there. Please, 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 please put parentheses around that. Okay? Let's do -5. Everybody go -5, store, enter. Parenthesis. It doesn't matter if I do that one or the one below. I'll just do the one I highlighted. -3, membar, enter. Minus membar, enter, x squared, plus 4, close it. Divided by parenthesis, membar, enter, x squared, minus 4, close it, enter, and I get a negative. If I put it in wrong, every sign is going to probably be messed up. So I have to be really careful and add those parentheses, okay? -3 is the next region. -3, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a positive. In between a -2 and a 1 is a 0, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. Between 1 and 2 is 1.5, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a positive. To the right of 2 is a 3, store, enter, up, up, enter, and I get a negative. What am I looking for? Greater than 0. That would be positive, right? So that would be here and here. So my answer is -4 with a bracket to -2 with a parenthesis, union 1 with a bracket to 2 with a parenthesis. That's my answer, and I'm done. That's as difficult as it's going to get.
Okay.
Who says I'm good? I'm good. Okay, yay. You guys are going to be so good on that midterm. Okay, E. I want you to put stars around it. This is probably what it's going to look like. 30 people are talking to me. Step 1. 0. So you have x plus 3 over x minus 4 is less than or equal to 0. Step 2, tell me. Common denominator. So look what I'm going to do. Put a 1 underneath that. Put a 1 underneath that. Everybody in the room, tell me what my common denominator is going to be. It's going to be an x. Now look at this guy right here. He doesn't have the x. He has a 1. So I have to multiply the bottom by x to turn it into an x. And then x times x is x squared. The middle guy's good. He has the x. So I'm going to go plus 3. The last guy's right here, he does not have an x. So I multiplied the bottom by x to get the x. Therefore, -4 times x is -4x. That's a tough part right there. Okay? reorder this, x to the second minus 4x plus 3 all over x is less than or equal to 0. One word, what do I do now?
Factor.
Factor. So it goes to x and x. Signs are the same, they're both negative. 3 and 1, multiply to give me 3 and add to give me 4. On the bottom you have an x, is less than or equal to 0. What do I do now?
Set equal to 0.
Critical numbers. So my critical numbers are x equals 1, 3, and what?
0.
0. What do I do now?
Restriction.
Restrictions. X cannot be a what?
0.
0. So guys, look. I go to my critical numbers and I remove 0. Is that correct? No, please don't do that. It's still a critical number. Go to your number line. Go to a 0. Close to it, do a 1. Further away, do a 3. X cannot be 0, so that's opened. 1 is closed, 3 is closed. Left side, -1. If I were you, I'd probably choose right here to put it in. Everybody stop right here. Please freeze. I wanted to say this about 3 minutes ago, and I didn't know how to say it well, and this is going to be beautiful, okay? This is super important. If you put this wrong in your calculator, you're toast. Look at the top. Is it necessary that I put parentheses around the top, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Why? You have 3 terms up there. Even if you have 2, you have to put parentheses around them. No matter if it's more than 1, parentheses. Okay? Look at the bottom. Is it necessary to put parentheses around the x? No. Because it's just one term. It's just an x. Okay? Okay, let's do it. -1. Everybody go -1, store, enter. Parenthesis, membar, enter, x squared, -4, membar, enter, plus 3, close it off, divided by, membar, enter, enter, and I get a -8. I have a question for you, actually. If I didn't understand that, and I did put parentheses around the x, would I be wrong?
No.
No. So if you ever doubt, throw parentheses, okay? Between 0 and 1, 0.5. 0.5, store, enter, up, enter, and you get a positive. Next one, 2, store, enter, up, enter, and you get a negative. To the right of the 3, 4, store, enter, up, enter, and you get a positive. Less than 0 means negative. That would be here and here. Interval, let's write our answer in all forms. So let's write interval. An interval form is -∞ to 0 with a parenthesis, union 1 with a bracket to 3 with a bracket. Okay? Now let's do inequality. I do not think they're going to say write your answer in inequality. I think it's either going to be interval or set. But let's be ready. This means 0 and to the left. So that would be x is less than 0. Left of 0 is less than. And then I'm going to put or. It's not an and, it's an or. In between two numbers looks like this. 1 on the right, 3 on the left, x in the center. Which way do my arrows point? To the left or to the right? Tell me. To the left. Looks like that. And I have to add some equal signs, and that's inequality form. Why is it not an and? Could it be possible that I'm in the left region and in the right region? No, that's why it's not an and. Okay? And then set notation is exactly inequality with the braces and the x such that. So this is x such that, x is less than 0, or 1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 3. Do your braces. There's all your forms you need to know. Say it again.
Your set notation of inequality is the same as
Yeah.
X.
Inequality or set is just inequality with all the other business. Braces, x such that. It's easy. If you know inequality, you know set for sure. Okay? Okay, last question. A rocket is shot into a body of water. The height of the rocket in feet with respect to time is given by this equation. Find the time when the rocket is in the water. Okay, remember when I told you let's do word problems and let's do x equals y equals, so let's do that. It's solve for h of t, that's your y. What does h of t stand for? Stands for the height, and that would be in feet. What does the t stand for? It says time in seconds, okay? So t is time in seconds. Find the time when the rocket is in the water. Now this is kind of weird because we used to do hit the water, and we would, if it says hit the water, hit the ground, what do?
Zero.
You let y be 0, right? Because y is usually height. This one they want to know when it's in the water. So let's take that height, write that down. The water is 0, 0 height, right? So if it's in the water, the height is what? It's, so what symbol do I put? Less than 0, which would mean negative. Yeah, it's in the water. So now a negative height is going to be possible because in the water means negative. I know what you're going to say. I'm a psychic. I'm a psychic. That's, yeah. You didn't let me guess. You told me. I swear I knew it. It's okay. So he's questioning if we should have an equal sign. Well, if it said under the water, then I would say no equal sign. My opinion, and I think it could go either way. In the water, if you're on the water, are you wet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say equal sign. That's me. Okay, so let's go for it, and I think Weber State would take it either way. Okay, everybody look at the problem. You have to know what kind of a problem it is. Which one is it? Critical numbers type 1. Why is this not critical numbers type 2? No fractions. So now we have to remember the steps from last time. Step 1, tell me out loud. 0. Step 2. Factor. What am I going to do specifically? Take out a t. When I do, I'm left with t to the second minus t minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. And then I'm going to continue to factor to t and t. The 6 goes to a 3 and a 2. Signs are different. Biggest is a negative. That would be the 3. Tell me what to do now. Critical numbers next, right? So that t right there gives me a 0. This gives me a negative 2, and this gives me a positive 3. Go to your number line. Negative 2 on the left. 2 units away from that is a 0. 3 units away from that is a 3. I don't have to worry about restrictions because I don't have any fractions. This is a type 1. So it's going to be closed, closed, closed. Everybody stop for a second. You're all so smart. Is there anything anybody wants to say to me about this? Go ahead. What? Yeah, these are your x values, which is your time. All this business over here doesn't even work because then you have negative time. That's like a time machine, right? We don't have that. So we're going to come over here, and I'm just going to say not possible, negative time. So now all I'm going to worry about is that business, the right-hand side. Let's test a 1. Everybody go 1 store, enter. Membar, enter, raise it to the third. Minus membar, enter, x squared. Minus 6, membar, enter, enter, and I get a negative. Who was it that answered that, right? Good job. I just want to tell you, good job. Okay, to the right of the 3 is a 4. 4 store, enter, up, up, enter, and you get a positive. They want to know when it's less than 0. That would be negative, so it's right there. Does it make sense to answer your word problem like this? 0 to 3. No. This is an x value. It stands for time, okay? So I would say, I'm going to write mine up above because I'm kind of out of room. I'm going to say between 0 and 3 seconds. Now, I don't really love that, because how am I going to say including 0 and 3? Could just say that. Between 0 and 3 seconds, and I'm going to say after. I don't like it. Fix it. You guys are better than me at English. How do I say between 0 and 3, including 0 and 3, after the rocket is shot? Tell me.
From 0 to.
From. Duh. See, I'm a math brain. From 0 to 3 seconds after the rocket is shot, comma, it is in the water. Let me draw you a picture. You're done. That's the end of the problem. Let me draw you a picture. Look right here. This is the water, right? This would be height, and this would be seconds. Look what happens. Everybody look. I want you to really understand this. You take the rocket, you shoot it into the water, it goes into the water, and then it pops back up. It's right there at 0. It's right there at 3. Who says got it? Let's see. Okay, yay. That's it. We're done. We're done.